Hello again, Chris Wolf. I'm the head of AI and advanced services at VMware by Broadcom. And want to talk a bit more about private AI and what VMware is doing. So we announced private AI in August of 2023. I'm thinking, wow, hasn't been that long. And what we're really looking to do is democratize generative AI and ignite business innovation for all enterprises. We've seen this privacy concern and privacy and control being really key to a lot of organizations. And that's really the area that VMware wants to help focus on. And democratization is also really important. What we're seeing is a lot of AI ISVs are excited to partner with VMware because we are not directly competing with them. We're saying, you take the upper level services, that's your space. When you get into like AI infrastructure, AI optimizations, AI security, data privacy, data serving, that's our space. That's where we're going to help out. So it makes it very easy for us to go in together. And that's important because these same ISVs are running on public clouds where those public clouds have those top level AI services and they're direct competitors. It makes it much more difficult if you're the ISV to trust them as a partner to go into customers together. With VMware by Broadcom, there's a very clear demarcation point, and that helps. So just to spend a little bit more time on use cases, code generation, that's a lot of organizations are seeing this, and we're seeing this across the gambit. So whether it's like VMware's first code generation use case was around C development. ESXi kernel, we're like, if we're going to try this out, we want to try the most difficult use case with our most opinionated software engineers. We're going to start there. And it was actually pretty incredible. When we started using our internal solution based on a star code or open source model, we had an acceptance rate of software engineers of 92%. So that was a real eye-opening moment for us, like, hey, this is real, and we can actually do this on a very low budget to get that value.
I have a question, and this has kind of been bubbling in my mind how to ask it, but I think this is a great place. So you had a 92% acceptance rate with the ESXi engineer. One thing, I understand why you're saying private and why it's called private, but there's so many unintended consequences of building generative AI, especially because people don't really understand what it's doing. They inflate it to be something very different, and there are big societal problems that can come with it. But just taking your ESXi example, that's great, 92% adopted it. Did it actually produce code that was pushed into the ESXi kernel? How much of that was adopted? How much time did it save? Do you have any of this?
Yeah, so we've run a pilot. We're working on additional measurements now. We were focusing on a lot of our AI code development. We were focused on areas that we can tightly control. I think what works to VMware's benefit is we have very sophisticated code scanning that we do internally, where we're looking for issues around compliance. We do a lot of work on open source compliance, make sure that we have proper citations for any open source code that's used. So because we have these processes internally, we were able to, I think, see some of that early success. Now, we're still working through like proper citations for AI generated code and then how to really start to move this forward. So I'd say VMware, like a lot of folks, were a little bit more exploratory. Like a lot of companies, we did look at GitHub Copilot. That's something that we're still looking at as well. But our initial use case for GitHub Copilot was just upstream open source, because that wasn't going to affect our own intellectual property or anything like that. So VMware does have, we have an AI council. We've had governance practices that we put into place. So it's an area where we feel we're ahead of a lot of our peers in the industry that haven't even set up that type of governance yet. So work in progress, but there's definitely a lot happening there. Okay, call center resolution. Again, every organization has this, even advanced information retrieval, whether you're healthcare data or legal or sales data or customer support use cases across a variety of industries. Being able to allow your support technicians to get answers more quickly has real business value. Again, these are solutions that there's a lot of open source out there that can help you with this in terms of even collecting data. There's a great open source community around Llama Index that has a lot of these data collectors, and you can turn these solutions on typically in a couple of weeks, if not sooner than that. So there's a lot of power in terms of what's happening here with some of these early use cases. Now, from the VMware solution specifically, benefits that we're looking for is flexibility, having choice. So whether it's the choice of hardware that you're going to run your solution on or the choice of software that runs above the stack, we want organizations to make a singular investment in AI infrastructure that then gives them optionality. So if it's a commercial AI service, if it's a cloud AI service, if it's an open source AI service, and we see this all the time. Different lines of business have different priorities, or there's different services that just work better for them. So because of that, again, that singular investment in infrastructure allows you to better performance optimize moving across. Simplifying deployment as well, mitigating risks is also really important. And also on the deployment side, we're doing things that nobody else is doing. This also, you can call it deployment or performance. We can stand up an AI cluster with your models preloaded into memory in about 3 seconds. You can't do that in the public cloud. You can't do anything remotely close to that on bare metal. What we've seen from industry partners is on bare metal, that's going to take you 5 to 7 minutes to do.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Talk to just opening for a pretty good question around AI operations, not AI ops, and like managing my IT landscape via AI, but the best practices of AI in large enterprises. You folks obviously talk to a lot of large enterprises, a dozen or so AI projects going on. Can you speak to kind of the advantages of VMware Private AI when it comes to managing multiple projects? When I have 3 or 4 different ISVs coming in with different ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it gets down to when you start going with a cluster per project or cloud service per project, right? You're not able to. You're going to have peaks and valleys to when those resources are actually utilized. There's two primary reasons customers have wanted to partner with VMware. First, it's having that virtual infrastructure layer where I can more intelligently manage my access to memory, my access to GPUs, what is my network capacity that's needed, and be able to intelligently slice that across all of these different use cases. Like I said before, a fractional GPU is often all that you need for an inferencing use case. And VMware is great at this, and we've had technologies like DRS that are very mature for being able to effectively load balance, based on capacity requirements for different workloads. So that capacity issue is one key reason. The second one is really when you start to think about management operations. I don't want to have a separate operational silo for my AI workloads because that costs a lot of money to stand all that up. It's new tools, it's new processes, it's all of that. With VMware, you already have your own tool set in place. You already have processes that you've been running for a long time. So why not just take advantage of what you already have as opposed to investing in an entirely different silo of tools? Those two things lead to, and our customers' expectations, a much lower total cost of ownership on our stack. And then the third would be choice. So the fact that we're saying, here's our space, we want to partner in these areas, that's also exciting to customers because we're not trying to just force a singular AI stack on them because we just don't think that's realistic. And it's just not what they want. So they want to be able to maintain their data in their repos of their choice and then be able to bring in the AI application services. And I think just also to your point, Keith, one other thing that I didn't mention around what's different in like generative AI today is traditional AI was really focused on the data scientist as the consumer. And generative AI has really changed the game. The app dev is the consumer now. So some of the tools that worked for traditional AI are not even the best tools anymore today. It's this next generation of tools and ML ops tools that are coming around that are much more application developer centric that we think are going to be increasingly more important.
So, Frederick Van Haren, so I think you're kind of moving up the food chain in the sense that instead of being just a technology provider, you're kind of becoming a solutions provider for your customers.
Yes and no. So what we're actually doing is we're also helping the solution providers. We want we're open sourcing technology. We're creating reference architectures and guides for all of our GSI partners. And we're saying, here, take this. And we're even taking our apps internally. We're working to open source them so that a system integrator can take it, they can customize it, they can support it themselves, they can sell the service to customers. So we're adding value where we want to add value, where we're the best in the world at, and we're sharing our best practices across the industry for folks to take advantage of those too.
All right.
So I want to actually double click down on a couple of things you said that I haven't heard you mentioned, and I hear this a lot in research. I hear this a lot in customer conversations. With the conversation that we were just having, there's a lot of choice. There's a lot. I love the statement that you made about how AI impacts and Gen AI impacts are moving up into the app dev space. That's exactly true. No question about that. But what I haven't heard you talk about in the context of private AI is maximizing existing IT investment. And what I mean by that is prior to the big push in AI and prior to the big push in LLMs and such, data lakes, business intelligence models, business models were all in play and already in place with a lot of organizations. With the introduction of private AI, VMware clearly has the ability to attach those private data lakes to new AI models. I would like to hear more about that because that's a progression from customer use cases of where they're currently at versus greenfield opportunities. Greenfield opportunities are fine, but it's really about those brownfield opportunities that'll move forward.
Yeah, it's a really great observation, and that would be really the key, like early traction for VMware use cases is where customers want to be able to bring the AI to the data, and they already have a VMware environment where their data already is. So there's a strong desire. Let me package and bring the AI model to where I'm doing business. Like I had previously shared a retail example. They didn't want to be able to pump all of their data from every store into like this mega data lake, right? To be able to gain these inferences. They wanted to be able to be super reactive, be able to do it locally, and their AI footprint in each store, and these are stores with thousands of customers going through every day, is 2 GPUs. That's it, and that's running cameras in 24-ish, maybe 36 aisles. If I say how many aisles there are, it's going to give away the potential customer. Sure. But yeah, these things are happening, and that is really key for VMware, and that's where folks are looking for us to come in and help.
So let me restate my question just very quickly. Do you have any data that shows greenfield versus existing opportunities where people are attaching their existing investments to using private AI?
What we have is we've been able to collect data in terms of the percentage of customers almost a year ago that had on-prem use cases for AI. Depending on industry, it was between 40 and 60%.
Okay.
So that helped us in terms of driving our own business case for the AI investments. It's a big number.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would suspect that might have more of an answer to in the last presentation you mentioned about the cost of private being savings, and you're having independent research look into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and now on this side here, I just want to briefly mention this. We have another presentation. We're going to go deeper into performance, but this is just showing some inference benchmarks against a language model. And what you're seeing here in comparison to bare metal is we're within 1%. In worst case, within 2% of bare metal performance. We're going to show you another benchmark in another Tech Field Day presentation that's going to show that we're 5 or 6% better performance than bare metal, and that's strictly attributed to our scheduling algorithms and what we can do there. But what I'm saying here is you can get all the benefits of generative AI virtualizing and sharing your GPUs without sacrificing performance, unless you're really that worried about that 1%, which if you are, then fine, that's a bare metal use case. But if you're not, you can gain these benefits here.
And that's inferencing, it's not training.
Right. We've been doing some benchmarks on model training. I just don't have those. I don't have those here. But if a customer has to do mega LLM training, they're going to do it on bare metal or they're going to do it in a public cloud. It's not where we're focused. We're focused on fine-tuned models. So fine-tuning use cases and inferencing use cases is where you really gain the biggest benefit from virtualizing and slicing GPUs. If I need tens to hundreds of GPUs to train a large model, then that's probably not a virtualization use case, at least not today. It probably will be in the future when you already have this existing footprint and you might want to use it for other things. Even if it takes a little bit longer, if you already have the capacity, then why not take advantage of it?
The other question I had was, are you seeing a lot more AI adoption at the edge?
It's starting to pick up. Edge adoption is starting to pick up. Edge was like a technology without the killer use cases, I think, to start to drive adoption. Now we're starting to see more of these pop up. There was always interesting edge AI use cases for some time, right? For proactive maintenance on vehicles or trains and things like that, to AI with drones to find wildfires or electrical outages and different things like that. So these use cases have been around, but now they're becoming more commonplace. We're seeing more in manufacturing, even code development. If I'm doing some basic scripting in factories around some of the machinery that's running, AI code assist even helps in those use cases as well. So there's and that's a use case where my data can't physically leave the factory, right? There's lots of these where now as the technology is maturing, it's really picking up. So to further expand on the why VMware point, a lot of security features have been in the stack for some time. So from secure boot to virtual TPMs, and we're seeing more of this moving forward around being able to protect models and data confidentiality being increasingly important. Integration with third-party identity management, being able to use technologies like microsegmentation and distributed firewalls to be able to create isolation around your AI models and services, all really important to organizations moving forward. And then if I take it a little bit further, the ecosystem that we've curated, I think, is just as important. So as I mentioned, we're really focused on AI infrastructure and the services that are going to run above that. We do have our Tanzu team that will come in and work hand in hand with customers on some custom services for them. But then we're really looking to include this group of partners, and you'll see more partners added, some really big logos going forward this year that's going to add more value there. Because we're seeing this not just even with the traditional ISVs, but even the folks running in the cloud are fully aware of the number of on-prem use cases that exist, and they want to work to capture that too. And the best company to work with to capture that is VMware, because we're already there where the customers do business.
So according to that, your private AI solution rides on VCF?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So customers can use. We have a reference architecture the customers can use if they want to take a more DIY approach. So we have all of the prescriptive guidance for them. But going forward, where we want customers to get to is if you want to run private AI, run an IaaS, get a really competent IaaS first, which is VMware Cloud Foundation. Then you can start to layer private AI on top of that. Start to add GPUs, start to run your AI services. But we want folks to step back and just simplify their environment first, make that environment super optimized and efficient. Then you're going to start to see all the cost gains.
So the existing VCF licensing will enable this, or is that kind of an add-on pack that you see to leverage some of these things you're talking about?
Yeah, VCF is VCF. Customers can do what they want with VCF. We will have a private AI foundation with NVIDIA add-on that will give additional capabilities, such as having an integrated vector database support.
I see.
So that customers can start with VCF. They can buy the add-on and get those additional capabilities. Everybody needs a open source database or not an open source. They need a vector database for these RAG applications. So that's going to be the added benefit. We just make all of that turnkey. You get that full NVIDIA software stack as well. Everything's just well integrated. And we are going to have a session as part of Tech Field Day with Justin Murray that's going to go through all of this in a lot of detail.
Okay.
So, Chris, you don't have to answer this question this session. Maybe someone can touch it in one of the later sessions. But this conversation around value add and RAG and where you guys see the infrastructure, because AI, it's really tough to see where the application ends and infrastructure begins that's being defined. And RAG, you mentioned database, vector database. RAG is another one of those areas. As we're talking about enabling Tanzu and developers, taking these models and using them specifically for the use cases within the enterprise, RAG becomes another one of these centralized IT services potentially to say, okay, here's how you do RAG in our organization across these open source models.
Yeah, I want to be able to approve models. I mean, you're already seeing cases today where foundation models have malware embedded in them. So think about if I'm using a foundation model for code generation and it's actually creating malware that's now going into the source code of my company's applications, right? Real problems. IT has to essentially govern and approve models for distribution, similar to like having your container registry, right? So there's existing technologies that we can take advantage of for that. Same thing with providing the right level of access controls, right? Making sure that I'm not creating data leakage scenarios as well. So our position is that central IT has the expertise. Central IT should be able to manage this as a service for the rest of the company. Now, I'm just going to mention a couple of other solutions just to wrap it up, because we are going to go in depth in each of these. But just for the folks out there, just to see where VMware is innovating here, we have a joint solution we're bringing to market with NVIDIA called Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA. That's going to be covered in depth in 2 sessions later in Tech Field Day. We have some work as well with Intel, and I would just want to get to the architecture slide for that. We also have an in-depth session that's covering this as a part of Tech Field Day as well. So this is showing the work that we're doing with Intel on their Ponte Vecchio GPUs as well as their Max series GPUs for tuning and inferencing use cases. And then finally, we also have Private AI with IBM, where we're layering IBM on top of the solution as well. So this is the Watson X SaaS service now being able to be deployed on-prem. And this is another example of a partner that's coming to us and saying, hey, you know what, we need to be able to work closely with VMware because we have all of these customers with on-premises use cases. So with that, more resources to read a lot more. Thank you for your time. There's so much more to come, so make sure you attend all of the Tech Field Day sessions. Thanks so much.